You guys are going to like the secrets I'm sharing today. This time, I'll be getting a bit into demonology, and I'll be using one of everyone's favorites, one of the most popular demons, Leviathan, as an example on how a human deals with demons. Human, you're supposed to destroy demons. So if you've never ended one before, you might want to listen up. I'll try not to make this a half hour, but I'll also give you an example of how to rid yourself of a shadow entity in this message. Here we go. All right. So, yeah, Hollywood kind of screws it up when they create demonic characters. The good news is it's not their job to be accurate about anything. All right. Demons are not outside of us. You can call an entity demonic, but this just means that you don't like the entity that's haunting you. Okay, it's a negative presence, which means it's of a lower vibrational rate than your natural state. So being around it will affect your emotions if you're submissive or unintentional at all with your own energy and moods, and they'll bring you down through resonance. And this gets scary serious. You see, if someone's unintentional with their being, right, they're open to this energetic, emotional manipulation. This means an entity that you don't even know about, an entity can push someone to do some bad stuff here in the 3D. When you think about it, it's got to be a lot of emotionally overcharged decisions that land a lot of people in jail. Excuse me. Last video, I talked about resonance. If you're in a lower vibrational state, low vibrational entities will be attracted to you, thinking they belong with you. They see the light in you that can't be burned out, know that you're going to be healing eventually. So to them, you're like a lifesaver in the middle of the ocean. Another problem besides the many other ones, is that too many will bring you down. You cannot support entities made from a lower vibration. So you got to shake them off. You have to fight the fight it takes to get your vibration up and keep it there. A high vibrational human to a demonic entity is like someone trying to hold hot coals with their bare hands, all right? I don't think one would want to be in the same building as me today. So we're lucky I get to deal with one. I got to deal with one back in my worst off days. This all these experiences stack up to my channel. I'm not here to repeat anything. You can Google or read yourself. I made this channel to share my personal experiences, and I'm making this video because I personally had to rid myself of demonic entities. I'll give you this in case anyone out there is ever plagued by any shadow humanoids right now. You've seen them. These are beings that do not belong here, shadow entity. The story goes that during Atlantis' dark period, someone did rip a hole into the next lower dimension, and all these two-dimensional entities poured in. Supposedly, they did their best back then to put them back, and they closed the portal, but they're still all over the planet today. And this is not my personal experience, so I can't stand behind that story of Atlantis and all that. But yeah, they're literally two-dimensional. So they look like shadows moving with no one around, no one around to cast it. So, and you can see them on channels like Slapped Ham. That's a good one, a little shout out. It could be unsettling, but they got a lot of legit videos of shadow people caught on camera. They're literally from the lower 2D realm and do not belong here. They didn't mean to come here. They don't. It's a big mistake that they're here. So And as I write this today, as I wrote this today, I realized that it kind of makes sense. The lower dimension would have to be some form of anchoring device, and I'm seeing this reflected in their characteristics. Um, they lack the creativity to really be here. They're an entire octave away from their reality, which is one of the reasons they project so much fear. Okay, no creativity means they have to mimic sounds, so they scare people even more because they might use a familiar voice. You thought you heard grandma in the next room. You know, how can that be? So yeah, people get double freaked out. No creativity means they can't produce for themselves a face or details in the body. I'm doing this because like my soul is supposed to be here. Okay, well, the projection, 3D. Um, so it all makes sense. But for them, they all they can produce is a black silhouette. So yeah, they're scared. They're stuck in a nightmare. This means they have to latch onto something physical here, and this means that they haunt objects. Anything with its own field can be haunted. And if you're unintentional with yours, they can choose you. So yeah, like dolls, houses, a little trinkets and stuff, ancient artifacts, Ouija boards. Um, so I'll give you a more detailed story of this someday, but I wouldn't be telling you any of this unless I it was personal experience. But years ago, when I was in my most troubling era of my life, yeah, I wound up attracting a shadow being, and it took residence in my field. This is how I know, all right? Walking home from work late one night, um, I saw from the corner of my eye, it looked like someone was attacking me, coming out of the dark. So I clenched up on the sidewalk, right? But nothing happened. I looked around, and the street was completely empty. Not even any cars. It was quiet, but I was certain, someone was coming right at me. Um, a few days later, I realized I was in weird kind of trouble by, I couldn't feel, I couldn't be alone in my own house. There's no one else living with me. I was always looking over my shoulder. Um, oh yeah, just all right. It just starts to bother you, and it was sudden too. It spikes. This isn't something that comes a little by little. So the afternoon came where I decided to try. I had to try something strange. This is bugging me. In my own house, and I don't feel safe anywhere. Nothing's happening, but I just didn't feel safe anywhere. Um, the entity that was haunting me didn't belong in this reality. I can't have a portal. I don't know how to open a portal. I have to jump in. So what am I gonna do? How am I gonna get this thing off me? Um, you gotta decide. I'm not stuck with it. It's stuck with me. So what if I could raise its vibration so it could be here? And seriously, this is the idea I came up with. How can I do this? How can I raise something else's vibration? I didn't know about resonance back then. Um, well, you can curse something to death, right? Well, maybe you can bless something, to life. I'm not a religious guy, but I literally called a priest for some insight. Um, I called the neighborhood church. And I asked him what it really means to bless something, and he said anyone can do it. You don't got to be the Pope to bless something, right? You just got to mean it when you wish something or someone well, and that's it. That's all it means to bless something. So I figured I just had to think of the biggest blessing I could. I could give this entity to raise its vibration, so it could stop bothering me and actually be here, maybe. You know, again, I'm not a religious guy, but there I was. Turned the TV off. I sat on my couch and I started praying. Um, while trying to consider every corner of my house, verbatim, I was repeating, God bless this house and everything inside it. May this house and everything inside it return to you. Because, I mean, that's what we're all doing anyway, right? We play here, then we come back and, to the one all, and everything's euphoric, right? So, after only about a minute of, blanketing my house with my blessings like those from my couch, I swear, at the top of my peripheral, right? There's a shit. I wouldn't move my head. I just looked ahead and I just like, oh shit. There appeared to a shape of golden light, and it would fold on itself for a few seconds before disappearing, and everything got real still. Like when the air itself seems to just be like and relax, like something ended. And from that moment on, I wasn't looking over my shoulder for anything. So, I mean, the results spoke for itself. I'll give a fuller version of that story someday, but that wasn't a demon. That was a shadow being, would be a demonic entity. I think the Japanese call it oni when a negative entity latches onto someone like that. But yeah, I was a victim of that, and I got myself out, and that's how. There's probably a million ways to do it, but I give you an example. With it sharing my field, I got to download knowledge about it, and this is how I understand their collective plight of being in the wrong part of the universe. All the real demons are inside us all. We're built with them in it. That's why we gotta, be innocent about it. With each other, and forgiven, because we're built with the same internal stuff to overcome. Right? We choose to play here as humans. That's part of the deal. Okay. So let's say we're all playing a game together, and it's called humanity. How can we not be fighting the same enemies if we're playing the same game? Okay, it's confusing because so many of us are fighting so many different demons at the same time and in different ways. We have to know someone to understand the life challenges that they're taking on. There are a lot of demons. There's demons, negative energy, thoughts. There's a lot that can push a human into more trouble when you entertain them. Okay, when you choose them, it's hard to tell that we're all fighting, this in our own way. Like there's inadequacies in like sex, social standings, economics. Your bank account. Excuse me. Overcoming childhood traumas of all sizes. You don't know what the next person's dealing with. There's generational karma, stuff like that. We're dealing with stuff our ancestors put down on us. These could all be represented. You could put them all in the same book. They could all be represented as entities, and they would take the shape of demons. In humanity, yeah, there'd be enough to create not just a book, but an entire field of study. If I wanted to control you, here we go. I'd tell you all the demons are out there. So go find them, go look that way, while I profit on feeding the demons inside you that you're in denial of. Find something to blame your problems on. Okay, so I can get away with it. Thank you. Okay. If I wanted to control you, I wouldn't have you looking inside to find your demons so you can start slaying them. I want you dependent on chemicals that you can never make on your own. All right? I want you to keep coming to me with questions so I can send you on fool's quests and do my bidding that you don't even know about. Mm-hmm. Call me weird, but I might not be the only one who's starting to think the entire field of a demonology is actually an attempt at cataloging all the nasty ideas us children of the universe are built with and here to overcome during our time here. Whether it's one lifetime or 1,000 lifetimes, you're overcoming this. All of them. But we have these nasty ideas floating around in our mindscape constantly. And, I'll tell you, I think we're getting good at ignoring them, but I'm not sure if we're just supposed to leave them in us. Right? We might be stuck here in this part of the universe until we start slaying the demons that we're created with, as to be humans. We might be stuck doing these repetitive lifetimes here until we free ourselves from the bad thoughts. Pills won't do this. Right? And a therapist is obligated to contact the law if you share any thoughts that are of a certain darkness. But we're all created with this darkness in us, and shunning it just means to be scheduling more visits with therapists that you cannot tell everything, and you're stuck being reincarnated here until you do figure it out. But this is why a lot of us had to have military lives, so could act out, violence and stuff. But it's out of us now. It's out of humanity. But individually, we got to get it out of us. There's a story I bumped into, because now I'm going to teach you how to do this. So let me get this out of the way. There's a story I bumped into a few weeks ago. Someone trying to say Leviathan's a giant dragon of mythical style and it's resting under Iran. And that's the real reason we're attacking them. And crude oil is actually dragon's blood. And this guy gets thousands of views a day. Let me be the one to inform you that there will never, ever, 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 ever be an expedition to go to Iran and start digging for a giant dragon sleeping under their sand. This means that this story can be told 1,000 times in his lifetime, and it's allowed to be BS or not. Okay? Here we go. In my experience, I found that Leviathan is actually inside all of us. It's a part of every human that needs to be seen as larger than it really is. The ego has found many reasons a human should look bigger than it actually is. It's a huge sales tactic, right? It's a big way to get what you want out of smaller egos, just appearing to be huge, a big deal. Okay? Years ago, I had to settle for working at a Home Depot for a while. The managers and those who actually expected something out of working in retail seemed to just love repeating the sales story of when the first store opened. Supposedly it looked understocked. So they'll tell you like it was the most genius sales idea ever to put the empty boxes on the top shelves instead of getting rid of them and bailing them, so it looked like they had twice as much stock. Okay, like it was like a batter on deck, It doesn't take a genius, okay? It takes someone who's been in an understocked store before to understand that people feel better taking from someone who has too much rather than someone who can't keep up on inventory, all right? There's even a notion, a built-in notion, okay? It's part of the Leviathan in you, a built-in notion that if you see a store is overstocked, you just assume that everything on the floor is already priced to sell. It's already at the best price. So that's what it is. You weren't taught this in high school. These things are just in you because you're human. This is how we're built. You trust, the biggest because you naturally just assume that it has to be the best to be the biggest. And this is all an illusion. You know, McDonald's does not make the best burgers. They sell the most. They have the most franchises. Yeah. No, they do not make the best burgers. So it's you go there because it's part of an illusion. It's the Leviathan mindset. Car dealerships love the Leviathan mindset. They want to seem like they have too many cars and they need to unload them all. You know, this month. You know, for cheap. At least they used to do that. I don't think they still do that because there's Carvana now and stuff like that. But and Leviathan can be seen as a negative demon because it'll make you lie, to get what you want. It's part of the ego. Some of us use it, some of us fall for it, but it's inside all of us until it's dealt with, and it ain't, and you know more. So how do you defeat a demon inside you? Because once you do, you know you're good. You understand it. You see it everywhere. You know, and it doesn't make it go crazy or anything like that. It just you just you just let it go. You gotta go inside. Okay. There are thoughts that we're designed with, and they're there to be overcome. If your life was like a video game, the demons inside you are the bad guys. Nothing out there, nothing outside you, really is a bad guy. You have other humans dealing with the same demons in their own way. So you know, some of us, yeah, we appear as bad guys to each other, but it's the demons running through us. It really is. So yeah, many of us are going around doing our best to ignore them, but they won't go away until you confront them. And this isn't only easy; it's pretty awesome, you know, because you'll be supercharged for days when you do it. And I'm going to tell you what happens when you show up and try. Because yeah, this story might mess you up. With Leviathan, I was intentional. Okay, by going in, I've defeated other demons before. No one you'd recognize. I've even had wizard battles in the ether. With Leviathan, I just sat in meditation and called it to me. You know, you go to your center because there's a demon flying around somewhere, and call it. It was a weekend day, and I was feeling, you know, pretty powerful, so I asked Spirit to give me a demon to fight. Sat down, put on some meditation music, lit some incense, you know. In my mind's eye, all I could see were brontosaurus legs, like tree trunks. You know, Spirit wouldn't show me a body right away or a face, but right away I'm like, oh, Leviathan, huh? Cool, all right. So I got more excited than anything else because, you know, I already knew before this that when you go in to confront a demon, Spirit walks you through it. You know, we're at a time where mankind is supposed to start doing this. So when we show up, you enter in God mode. All right? The demon will just stand there like an injured Pokemon. Right? While Spirit shows you exactly how to overcome this portion of your shadow self. It'll just stand there like that. In this case, just I showed up, so Leviathan just shrank to the size of like a toy dinosaur as soon as it realized what the meeting was about. No battle, you know. Together, humanity, we did this already. Together, humanity defeated Leviathan. We spent generations, you know, falling prey to big salesmen and, you know, corporations, and you know, now we're in a lot of trouble because of it. But by going in as individuals now, we can start cleaning up, and that's the big secret. That it's time to clean up and start collecting our prizes. Humanity is not bound by the dark anymore. Okay, and I hope explaining by how easy it is to rid ourselves of our inner demons these days. It shows that times have changed. You don't have to be the Pope to bless your neighbors. You don't have to be, Constantine to defeat demons. Um, you know, we're all supposed to do it, and let's give it a shot. I guess that's it for now. Um, I try to keep this short. If you like it, click it. Subscribe for more stories you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. The universe dragged me through some weird places, so I can have these insights and stuff to share with you now. And please share me because social media wasn't exactly part of my life the past decade or so while I did these other things. My next video, I feel like it's time to explain my wizard name, Orlando. And I hope it inspires you to try to get your own. I didn't name myself anything. I found out that this is what the universe named me. Okay? So, this has been Orlando Opens Up, episode 8. Thank you for reviewing. Much love and good night.